have no idea what hammer time is, or how it differs from regular time.
So the other day, I was approached by this goofy group of guys who ended up pointing a shiny revolver at me. And they were like,
"Hey, mister, somewhere in the middle, start naming S-tier shows only."
Identify yourself! Who the fuck are you?
Needless to say, I was a little confused why this question was being asked. I started rattling off the best shows I could think of. House, MASH, The Wire. Hell, I even said Frasier.
Oh, some boys go to college, but we think they're all wussies, 'cause they get all the knowledge, and we get all the...
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
Dexter crossed my mind, but I thought saying it would take me to one last trip to Flavortown.
So I'm sitting there, barbecue sauce on my titties.
I'll be honest, I don't think Dexter is up there as one of the best TV shows ever. I could think of a long list that I'd throw out first. Now, before you all throw me over a cliff, I'm not saying Dexter is bad by any means. In fact, I believe quite the opposite. It's a unique, compelling show.
That is so sweet.
Chill.
That doesn't mean I'm not aware of the issues fans had with it, though. The ridiculous ending. How often the show seemed to write itself into a corner, only to just kind of piss us off with its choices.
I got a fever! And the only prescription is
killing main characters.
Fans seemed to really not like the revival, and also seemed quite divided about the future prequel. Also, dude, even Michael C. Hall is like, yeah man, I get it. Dexter Morgan, a household name in TV's premier serial killer. But how great of a show is Paramount Plus? No. HBO? No. What? Showtime's. Dude, it's literally in the corner.
You are stupid.
How great is Dexter, really? Does this show hold up in such a golden age of television? The short answer? Maybe. The long answer?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm kidding. Kind of. For a video about Dexter, I'm sure being an asshole to it. I promise this will come out the other side. The good seasons are really, really good. The most interesting thing about this show is how its popularity seems to transcend explanation, and for good reason. There's something quite alluring about Dexter beyond our culture's weird obsession with serial killers. You'd ask the question, what if there exists a guy who's handsome, nice, great with kids, has a steady job, is a great listener. Hold on, there's one more thing I forgot. Oh yeah, kills people and cuts up their bodies into itty bitty Reese's Pieces and dumps them as fish for a ghost leviathan.
Oh my god!
But he brings donuts. Say no more, I think I'm in love. Obviously, the morality conundrum is the entire point of the character. We know what he's doing is wrong, and there's no excuse for murder. But when it's aimed in a certain direction, we can kind of see the good in it. His actions can be a net positive for society. Killing other serial killers, rapists, puppy punchers. He is, through degrees of Kevin Bacon, preventing other worse crimes.
You couldn't even skateboard to a Blockbuster without getting nuked.
I realize I have spent a lot of time harping and insulting the show, but we're not here to even talk about the show at all. Sorry, I guess this isn't coming out the other side. Dexter to me is kinda like House. I first realized they were similar, and thought that's the dumbest thought I've ever had, but it's actually kinda true. Both of them are extremely intelligent. Both are battling their own demons. Both have dark pasts, and have dealt with varying degrees of trauma. Both battle addiction in their own ways. Dexter does something a lot better than House though, and better than most shows for that matter. Besides giving criminals a terminal dose of ring dingers. Dexter's constant moral battle and troubled upbringing are not only fleshed out better than most TV shows, but it's constantly referenced and interwoven throughout the narrative in a subtle, intricate way. Every decision Dexter makes is rooted in some learned experience. An anecdote he remembers. A teaching of his father. A deep yearning to be a better person. Hell, that's better than most of us can say about ourselves. As I've done in previous character analysis videos, this video is going to be just that. A character analysis of Dexter. We're not here to hash out all the faults of the show and every plot point from all 8 seasons. We're here to talk about one of the most unique and interesting TV characters we've ever seen. An emotionless, empatheticless, strangely dressed man who has a compulsion to take butter knives and shove them in people's butts.
Life is short, dude.
I'm getting ahead of myself, per usual. Let's take it from the beginning and ask the question, who is Dexter Morgan? And why might he be the greatest television character ever? Believe it or not, America's most famous knife salesman is actually based on the novel Darkly Dreaming Dexter by Jeff Lindsay. Most people might not actually... Oh. Oops. Dexter, or Dex Morgan, is the title character and anti-hero of Showtime's Dexter, the special event series Dexter New Blood, and the Dexter novels. On the surface, Dexter is a friendly, non-assuming blood spatter analyst for Miami Metro Police Department, collecting and processing evidence of gruesome crimes all around Miami. He drives a normal car, has a girlfriend who adores him, and enjoys eating steaks with his fellow cop sister. But by night, Dexter is an elusive vigilante serial killer who becomes known as the Bay Harbor Butcher, primarily targeting and killing other murderers.
I'm gonna tell you something that I've never told anyone before. I'm a serial killer. Oh, that feels so amazing to say out loud.
Alrighty then.
He channels his killing urges at people that he believes deserve such a fate. He uses his position in the police department to research and find evidence against these individuals. He follows them, kidnaps them, wraps them in plastic, shows them pictures of their victims, and carves them up, dropping their meat cubes into the deep blue sea. But hey, he doesn't eat people, so he can't be that bad.
I have no plans to eat anybody.
So how did this all get started? Dexter's upbringing is about as traumatic as a TV character's backstory can get. Dexter Morgan was born Dexter Moser on February 1st, 1971, 3 years after his brother, Brian Moser, to parents Laura and Joseph Moser. Dexter's mother agreed to be a criminal informant against a drug kingpin known as Hector Estrada and his cartel. It's being a CI where she first met Detective Harry Morgan, Dexter's future adoptive father. Unfortunately, being a CI has its dangers. On October 2nd, 1971, she and her 2 sons, Dexter and Brian, were herded into a shipping container by Hector, along with several other drug cartel members. Laura was brutally chainsawed in front of her 2 sons. Jesus Christ, dude. The killers fled, and both Dexter and his older brother sat for days in the blood and guts of their mother. This moment changed them forever, Brian becoming the ice truck killer, and Dexter becoming the Bay Harbor Butcher. 2 children, both witnessing something awful, both of them becoming killers. But only one was trained to control the dark urges, but more on that in a bit. Years after this awful incident, Harry Morgan adopted Dexter, and they lived together with Harry's daughter, Deb Morgan. Harry kept the truth about what happened to Dexter until he was much older. Years later, Harry became concerned when he learned Dexter killed a neighbor's dog, and presumably many other animals. Harry realized there was a deep darkness inside Dexter, and instead of judging him, committing him, or hell, putting a bullet in his head, Harry taught him to control it, and how to never get caught. These set of rules Harry instills in Dexter would become known as the Code. They keep Dexter focused, strategic, and able to make the world a better place. So what is the Code? Well, it's 2 rules. The first, don't get caught.
Well, that sounds easy enough.
The first rule is something Dexter references all the time on the show, so much that they never even tell Deb. Anything that could jeopardize Dexter's secret could ruin his life, and the life of everyone around him. The only people that truly ever get to know are Dexter and Harry, and like that stupid chick from season 8, but we're not going to get into that. The second rule Harry sets for Dexter via the Code is to only kill individuals that you can find conclusive evidence that they're bad people. You won't go a single episode without hearing Dexter talk about the Code, his allegiance to it, his pursuit of absolute conclusive evidence, proving a target deserves a watery grave. Doing whatever he can to avoid detection, to continue bettering the world, and of course, continue scratching that little murdery itch. Up to about the age of 20, Dexter hadn't killed anybody yet. Around this time, Harry had a brief stay in the hospital due to coronary artery disease. Harry discovered his nurse had been overdosing him and other patients on morphine. Harry gave Dexter permission to make this nurse his first human kill. Dexter was sloppy and lacked confidence. That's what she said. But he did it, even instilling some of the aspects of his kill ritual we're used to seeing in the show. The first kill was only the beginning. The next significant victim of Dexter was Juan Reynes, Dexter's fourth victim, a pimp who murdered Harry's partner and also a prostitute. And when Harry walked in on Dexter during the post-kill cleanup process, Harry got sick and vomited. 3 days later, Harry kills himself, perhaps at disgust and shock of what he helped create. For most of Dexter's life, he believed that his dad died of a heart attack. Let me make a side note. All of this information isn't really given to us in the first or second episode, or even the first season. The show takes its time giving breadcrumbs about how Dexter became Dexter, who he killed before the show started, how he grew into the killer we know today. I respect that the show took its time filling in the backstory, and I've only really scratched the surface of a lot of this. I could take all day, but for now I want to talk about 3 notable processes that you're going to hear a lot about that we should unpack. Dexter has a rather meticulous ritual process for everybody he kills. He ensures his targets are deserving of his judgment by carefully controlling the environment that they're in, by plastic wrapping the room, tying them down, hanging pictures or evidence of the horrible things they've done. Although it's not something Harry instilled in Dexter, it still helps him maintain control and distance from his urges, treating each kill like a procedure. When Dexter was 10 years old, he visited a crime scene with his father and took away a bloody piece of glass, a harbinger of things to come. The blood slides are a collection of blood samples taken as a personal record of each kill. He usually creates these slides by cutting his victim's cheek with a scalpel while they're still alive. Each slide is organized in a custom case, symbolizing Dexter's need for precision and control. The slides represent a hidden ritual, serving as his private trophy collection and a dark homage to his work as both a killer and forensic expert. It should be noted that Dexter killed a total of 8 individuals before ever collecting blood slides. For most of the show, Dexter keeps this case hidden behind an air conditioner in his apartment, periodically taking them out to appreciate and reminisce what he's done. It's a weird way to stroke it. We've talked about the code and Dexter's killing urges, but we haven't really talked about the dark passenger yet. The dark passenger is a general term for the burden Dexter carries as a result of his childhood trauma and having to live with the urge to kill. He wants to kill, sure, but he also wants to have a normal life. It's almost as if Dexter creates this separate persona that takes on the darker, more murderous traits. We see Dexter struggle or refer to the dark passenger when he's angry, traumatized, or when he's able to rationalize that the person he's killing deserves it. It's a way for him to channel his rage and morality in a direction without feeling like he's struggling with impulses 24/7. Dexter feels as if he's riding shotgun at times, letting this dark passenger kill those who deserve it so he can rationalize himself to still be semi-normal. I think it's a really interesting and ingenious narrative device. It makes Dexter sound very introspective and aware of who he is, which, for many killers, may not be the case. This is yet another reason we sympathize and root for him. As I mentioned previously, I wanted to spend the majority of this video talking about Dexter's background, personality, and incredible wardrobe.
You don't want to be like this.
Spending too much time talking about show events just doesn't really interest me. However, I think I might be shooting myself in the head hole if I don't at least give brief summaries on each season, in case it's been a while since your last rewatch. This is a Dexter analysis video, after all. We should at least know what this monotoned, spray-tanning goth wannabe's been up to.
Just like me.
Empty inside.
Meet Dexter Morgan, a blood spatter analyst for the Miami Metro Police Department. A dedicated boyfriend and good-natured brother by day, an evil person killer by night, Dexter follows his strict code, instilled by his adopted father Harry, to manage his dark, killing urges since childhood. Dexter becomes obsessed with the ice truck killer, another Miami serial killer who drains all the blood from his victims. Dexter follows the clues left behind, and in a shocking twist, the ice truck killer to be Dexter's long-lost biological brother Brian Moser. Dexter kills Brian instead of his fellow police officer sister Deb Morgan. What a tough choice. Season 2 finds Dexter's secret life in jeopardy, as all his dismembered bodies are found underwater in the Bay Harbor, coining Dexter's name Bay Harbor Butcher. Dexter struggles with his addiction to killing, while becoming under increasingly strong scrutiny from his colleague Sergeant Dokes.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah, that guy. From the meme, Dexter also begins to see the unhinged Lila, who learns the truth about Dexter. Dexter ends up caging Dokes in a remote cabin when he gets too close, coming to terms with learning of his father's suicide and ready to give himself up instead of killing Dokes, since he doesn't fit the code. Unfortunately, Lila kills Dokes to cover Dexter's tracks so they could be together as some sort of weird fucking psychotic couple or something. Dokes is then framed as the Bay Harbor Butcher, and Season 2 ends with Dexter killing Lila in Paris. Season 3 finds Dexter with a new friend in Miguel Prado, a high-profile DA whose brother Dexter kills at the beginning of the season in an accidental vigilante act. Miguel eventually learns of Dexter's secret. Miguel wants in on this killing scheme to kill those that the justice system can't convict, but their partnership spirals out of control when Miguel violates the code. Dexter kills Miguel to protect the code and, oh yeah, Rita's pregnant, and they also get married. Woohoo! Season 4 now sees married and dad Raisinette Morgan square off against Arthur Mitchell, who we come to know as the Trinity Killer, portrayed by the talented John Lithgow.
The woman I love won't let me be a woman.
The Trinity Killer perfects what Dexter has always sought, a serial killer able to maintain a seemingly perfect family life.
I am so thankful for you, Arthur.
Shut up, cunt.
And while Dexter's jealous of Arthur's ability to balance his familial duties and dark urges, Dexter soon discovers that Arthur is an abusive, manipulative father. After a season-long cat-and-mouse game, Dexter finally manages to kill the Trinity Killer. But not before Trinity kills Rita. And to top it all off, Dexter's son witnesses it all, sitting in Rita's blood, mirroring Dexter's own childhood trauma. Do we stop here? This is when the good stuff ends, right? Season 5 opens with Dexter in complete shock about Rita's death, even having the most awkward conversation with her family, who are completely unaware like days later she's dead. I can't not laugh during this scene. It screws with my head that I don't know if it's supposed to be funny.
Your mother came home and he killed her.
What? She got killed? Somebody killed her?
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah, take that fucking hat. Dexter then seeks solace in the first hot blonde he comes across, Lumen, a woman who survived a horrific attack from a group of rapists. Damn, Rita's not even on the ground yet. Dexter teaches Lumen to embrace the dark side, and in doing this, he begins to see his own path for redemption. However, after all the rapists are dead, Lumen admits her dark passenger is gone, and leaves Dexter alone, still trapped in his need to kill. Season 6, Dexter faces off against Forrest Gump and James Earl Jones, religious zealots known as the Doomsday Killers. Dexter's faith and spirituality are put front and center as he contemplates what type of legacy he'll leave for his son. Blah blah blah. Dexter finds out that James Earl Jones was in Forrest Gump's head, kills him inside the church where he did his own terrible deeds, but the big reveal is at the very end of the season, when Dexter kills Forrest Gump and Deb witnesses it. Season 7 starts with Deb grappling with the revelation that Dexter's a murderer, and instead of turning him in, helps him cover his tracks. Dexter's life is further endangered when he meets Hannah McKay, a former accomplice to murder herself. Dude's definitely got it tight. Dexter's desire for true connection is sparked to say the least. We also meet Isaac Serko, a ruthless enforcer for the Ukrainian mob. His narrative revolves around seeking revenge on Dexter for killing his lover, Victor. But the two unexpectedly bond in shared loneliness and an understanding of their inner darkness is... Isaac is probably one of the only antagonists that Dexter doesn't kill via ritual, but instead dies from a rival gang member. Miami PD gets closer and closer to Dexter's murder trail, with Lieutenant LaGuardia finally believing that Dexter is the Bay Harbor Butcher. The season ends when Deb is given a choice: kill LaGuardia or kill her brother. Obviously, she chooses the former, completely destroying her own moral compass. Oh yeah, this is the season where she admits that she's in love with Dexter.
I went to the church that night that you killed Travis Marshall to tell you that I'm in love with you.
No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am.
Season 8. The finality of Dexter finds him facing a final moral reckoning as his past comes full circle with the return of Dr. Evelyn Vogel, a psychiatrist who helped Harry create the code years ago. As Dexter contemplates leaving his dark life behind him for a future with Hannah and his son, he's confronted by Oliver Saxon, a man who targets Dr. Vogel. Dexter's life falls apart as Deborah gets shot by Saxon and inevitably dies. And instead of flying to Cancun or wherever the fuck Miranda is, he takes her body out to sea, kinda just like lets her float away. Man, I'm dead. And then drives into a hurricane. And then it cuts to Dexter being a fucking lumberjack with the dumbest beard I've ever seen. Words escape me in this beautiful moment. Oh shit, I forgot about Dexter Newblood. Nearly a decade after Dexter's game of Twister in the middle of Hurricane Otis, we find him living under a new identity in a small New York town, suppressing his urge to kill. His estranged son Harrison tracks him down, bringing Dexter's past much closer to the surface. Dexter's dark passenger once again rears its head, and Dexter kills again, trying to protect Harrison from the dangerous people of Iron Lake, including a local killer. This season ends in tragedy, or should I say hilarity, as Harrison, finding out who his father is, kills him. Okay, now this is a beautiful moment. Now, while I jest and make fun of everything after season 4, Dexter did do something fun and unique. Each season had a unique antagonist that would get fully fleshed out over the course of the season. Some of them are incredibly acted, others a little less so. Most fans of Dexter would tell you that season 4 is where the really good stuff ends, and it's hard to disagree. Arthur Mitchell as the Trinity Killer will probably go down as one of the greatest TV antagonists of all time. John Lithgow is an incredible actor, and he absolutely steals the season. Sitting down and thinking about Dexter Morgan in the shower, it came to me that I could probably fill a 10-hour video with nothing but his strange idiosyncrasies. And while that might be fun, I don't think I have nearly enough patience for that.
That's because you're lazy.
I do want to call a couple of things out before we get into some structured analysis. One thing that struck me as absolutely hilarious throughout the entire series was Dexter's clothing. Not just his interesting day-to-day attire. Jeez, dude, you look like a blind 14-year-old boy dressed in Abercrombie & Fitch mannequin.
It's a little insensitive.
I laugh whenever Dexter goes on a hunt, because his choice in attire for his ritual is just so not Miami. It's like a Montana Ranch outfit. Yeah, it's tactical. Long sleeve Henleys, gloves, but like, why? Are you trying to hide your white-ass arms in the dark? You're pretty tan, bro. You kind of blend right in.
Right. Blend in. Yeah, blend in.
I guess that's it about the clothing. I mean, have we ever even seen him in a suit? Oh shit, okay, never mind. Another thing that keeps me up at night is thinking about if Dexter is actually a serial killer.
Please explain.
The show tells you through flashbacks and stories that Harry Morgan realized his son had dark urges and helps him embrace it. And obviously, Dexter has to kill people in present day, or he gets extra sassy. Now, it's impossible to say, but if Harry, and I guess Dr. Vogler, had really gotten him more professional help, like years of medications, therapies, hell, whatever else, would Dexter have turned out this way? Like, Harry, man, talk to your son, tell him this shit's wrong.
You cannot do that. That's not okay.
Was Dexter always going to be a killer inhabited by a dark passenger? Or did all the bad lessons and misguidings and misplaced energy over the years manifest and transform him into something he didn't need to become? Obviously, the show wants us to believe that this is his destiny, that it was inevitable. But I have to believe somewhere in the multiverse there's a Dexter out there that's just a normal weird guy. Up for debate, I guess. Okay, on to the serious stuff. There are 4 quadrants of analysis we'll review from Dexter's show that set Dexter apart than most modern TV characters. Now, not all of these aspects are unique by any means, but all 4 of them done alongside one another truly make up the core of helping us understand Dexter's personality and what makes it special. Think about Walter White, Rick Grimes, Frank Underwood.
No thank you.
There are plenty of critically acclaimed television characters whose backstories never get that much attention from the writers. Some characters frankly don't need it. We don't care where Walter White lived growing up, or whether Betty Draper excelled in elementary school. We get little tidbits as shows move forward to round out our beloved characters, but it's not the primary purpose for their stories. However, for Dexter, I think this is really unique and a core aspect of what makes his story work. So learning his early life details is a must. And for good reason. The events in his upbringing drive his entire life. Dexter watching his mother get butchered and sitting in her blood for days. Harry adopting him, being a good father to him, helping him form the code because his love was so strong for his son he'd rather train him to kill, to blend in, than to give him up or turn him in. This grounding in trauma is unique because it humanizes Dexter despite his sociopathic tendencies, making us empathize with a character we would normally detest. This is why his upbringing and early life story is so vital to what makes this character work. Where in any other instance, we'd hate a liar and a killer. Think about it this way. If you were never explained the code, or made to sympathize with the trauma Dexter went through as a child, do you think you could ever root for a man with a double life? Lying to his sister, to sweet Rita? Covering his tracks at the police station? We can see past his lack of empathy and shortcomings because we're told his life story. Look at a character like House. I don't need to know a long list of intimate details about his early life or teenage years to relate to him or like him.
You wanna make out? Ugh.
But for Dexter, we do need this. And it makes sense, right? You can't just head into a writer's room talking about creating a show where the main character is an unempathetic serial killer. You need to find a way to make sure the audience likes him and connects to him. So what better way than to show us the unfortunate events that led to his adulthood and to make us fully understand? I mean, partly understand anyway. Dexter having a dead dad isn't important. Lots of people have dead dads. It happens to most people, believe it or not. Harry being dead before the show events start isn't important. What is important are the conversations Dexter has with Harry, often portrayed as visions, and more than just simple flashbacks. Harry becomes a ghostly moral guide to Dexter through the entire series, someone Dexter's able to bounce questions of morality and validation off of. Dexter might be struggling with a decision, and Harry pops up to probe him, to challenge him, to ask him what he truly wants. It creates a unique dialogue that becomes a cornerstone of the show's narrative. And while the talking to a dead relative isn't a unique trope in TV, it works a lot better for Dexter's character for many reasons. It allows Dexter to maintain his secrecy while still being able to discuss events with a character who won't turn him in or lie. He can be truly honest without fear of retaliation because the character he's talking to isn't real.
You're not real!
And because we know Harry's not really Harry, we can see the manifestation of Dexter's unresolved guilt and trauma from his father's death. It's less a father-son dynamic and more of a conscience check and discussion with an angel or devil on your shoulder. It allows for an internal character to act as a moral compass without Dexter's stoic personality being broken. Another reason Dexter redefines this dead dad trope is because most dead relative characters in TV pop up for a scene, an episode, maybe a season if you're really lucky. But not Dexter. James Remar, who plays Harry Morgan, is one of 4 characters in the entire series who is in every single episode. Read 'em and weep, all 96. The only 3 other characters in every episode of the show, his sister Deb, Batista, and who's the last one.
Are you slow?
Harry being an ever-present recurring character helps blur the lines of reality and enhance Dexter's tangled narrative all the more. I don't know about you, but I can't really think about Dexter's character without hearing his dull, dry internal voice, giving some critical commentary about how if you're a normal person, you're weird as fuck.
I go to stalk a killer and I end up with a new car. How'd that happen?
Because you're a smart person.
But Dexter's narration is a cornerstone of who he is.
Tonight's the night. Tonight's the night. Tonight's the night. Tonight's the night.
No, not tonight. No.
It allows us to take a peek into his mind, revealing his sociopathic detachment and dark, dry sense of humor.
Because finally there's an emotion I don't have to fake.
What, being gay?
It also turns his twisted reasoning into something almost relatable.
The grocery store. The modern day equivalent of the Serengeti.
Combine this with his conversations with his father, and we get more of a peek into his mind than any other TV character that I can think of. The most unique and interesting thing about the self-narration is that it creates an intimate experience with us, the viewer. We get to hear his internal thoughts, his reasoning, his perspective. No other character in any episode or any season in his show get to experience what we do. Dexter's honest with us, and only us, and it causes us to bond with him and trust him. We're accomplices to his murders, and we'll take his secrets to the grave. It's a really interesting relationship, and I think that's partly why the self-narration works a lot better for Dexter than other shows. I also love that 95% of the humor comes from this bland, monotone, sarcastic internal dialogue.
I like to pretend I'm alone. Maybe post-apocalypse or plague. Whatever.
Whatever. Whatever.
Of the 4 quadrants, this one might be the most important. If you've watched any of my other videos, I spend a lot of time talking about character motivation. What drives them, external forces, relationships, a deep yearning to belong, to be better. Characters are motivated by any one number of a billion things, and it explains so much about who they are and their choices. Dexter, I think, is a little bit different. Clearly.
You're fucking weird.
For him, it's not so much the question of why, but more of a question of what's right, and morality in general. This simple distinction differentiates him substantially. Dexter doesn't kill for vengeance, or because he's an adrenaline junkie. He does it not only because he has a dark passenger, but because he feels a deep sense of duty.
You said duties.
That's the why. His motivations aren't what's focused on most of the show. We never go, oh, is Dexter gonna stop killing? The opening season explains the why he is the way he is, and kinda gets it out of the way. And without focusing mostly on the motivation behind his killing, we're forced to question the morality of Dexter's choices. Not every person he kills throughout the series fits the code. At least personally, I hated the treatment Dokes got in season 2. There isn't a character on the show that deserved to die less than him, and it's because of Dexter. I recognize Dexter didn't directly kill him, like in his normal ritual, but dude, he's in a cage! That's the tough spot the show and Dexter put us in. Dexter is an arbiter of justice outside of society's laws, a morally complex vigilante. This unique stance works because it confronts viewers with a character who lives by his own ethical code, often blurring the lines of right and wrong. And because of the unique relationship we build with Dexter, and because we trust him, we're conflicted. This ambiguity makes us constantly question whether Dexter is a hero or merely an unreliable narrator. And not only does Dexter make us question our own moral compass, he himself does it every episode. Most of his decisions are based on him trying to determine if he's making morally just choices. If he has enough evidence to kill his victims, what would my father think? What would Deb think? Am I truly a righteous God? Let's move on to more structured analysis. What is an anti-hero? An anti-hero is a protagonist that lacks conventional heroic traits, such as courage and selflessness. They're often viewed as heroes or those who fight for good, but not always in the right way. They're flawed and troubled. So let's turn this logic to Dexter. Is he an anti-hero?
Yes! 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 Yes!
I can unequivocally say absolutely. He operates outside the law, channeling his dark passenger bullshit to justify killing people.
It's all bullshit.
Most deserve it, but is that for him to decide? Plus, his ability to maintain a facade of normalcy while harboring a dark secret does make him both relatable and unsettling. He tries to better Miami, but he's doing it more as a side effect than a main reason. Character archetypes are universal patterns or models in storytelling representing roles like the hero, mentor, rebel, or trickster, each embodying distinct motivations, goals, and challenges that drive their respective stories forward. There are varying different models depending on which one you look at, but one of the most common ones defines 12 main character archetypes that all story characters fall into. Looking at this list, which one would we think Dexter fits into? Dexter falls into the rebel archetype. He fits the rebel archetype to a T because he doesn't follow society's rules and instead creates his own. Rather than letting the legal system decide who deserves punishment, he takes matters into his own hands. Dexter lives by a strict moral code, only targeting criminals who have or might escape justice. This drive to correct the system, while literally breaking the law himself, shows how deeply he resists traditional authority. And while he's not trying to break the law left and right for his own pleasure, he rebels against traditional norms about friendships, relationships, sexual norms, and laws as well. He clearly doesn't like fitting in and seeks to bring about change, even if he is fulfilling his own killing desire alongside it. IQ, or intelligence quotient, is an overall indicator of a single person's reasoning and problem-solving ability. It's a single score that dictates just generally how intelligent a person is. 100 is the mean, or average. The further you get away from the mean, the smarter or less smart you are, and the more rare you become. For example, about 68% of the population falls between 85 and 115 IQ, and 95% of the population fall between 70 and 130. So let's break it down. What would we say Dexter's IQ is? First of all, let's be clear. Dexter is an intelligent guy. Scratch that. He's extremely intelligent. He demonstrates exceptional abilities in logical mathematical reasoning, which we see from his precise forensic analyses and ability to outsmart both criminals and law enforcement. His problem-solving skills are methodical, and his ability to anticipate obstacles and plan accordingly is unrivaled. He can spot patterns at crime scenes within seconds that dozens of other detectives miss in hours. His linguistic abilities may not be as pronounced as some, but he shows an adeptness in manipulating language when needed, like when creating alibis or deflecting suspicion. Dexter's meticulous planning and forensic expertise highlight a level of logical reasoning that far exceeds pretty much any TV character I can think of. I have no doubt that Dexter could pick up a new skill or learn a new subject with ease. Dexter Morgan would likely score around a 135 on a traditional IQ scale, placing him in the highly gifted range. Now that we've given Dexter an overall IQ score, let's now break down his intelligence into subgroups. Howard Gardner, a Harvard psychologist, had a theory that one's intelligence was broken down into 9 different subgroups that measured every aspect of one's different types of intelligence. He believed that a general single IQ score was a very poor way to measure someone's competency. You could be a talented guitarist who excels at calculus, but gets lost on his way to the basement. Therefore, it's important to look at more than just one type of intelligence. Let's do this for Dexter and give him a grade on each, from 1 to 10, with 5 being the average. Intrapersonal intelligence refers to the self-awareness in one's ability to understand themselves and to which a person can reflect, knowing what causes your feelings, how to learn from them, how to motivate yourself. Dexter has a deep understanding of his own psyche, constantly reflecting on his dark passenger. His self-awareness is a key factor in controlling his urges and maintaining his dual identity. There isn't a single episode where Dexter isn't tackling a moral conundrum. or narrating to us his thought process and why he makes his decisions. He's constantly trying to improve himself. Name a TV character that's more introspective than Dexter. Oh wait. Visual spatial intelligence is the ability to adeptly visualize objects, such as images, illustrations, maps, charts, and other similar physical objects. You're good at detecting patterns, reading maps, navigating streets. I believe Dexter's very gifted in the visual spatial intelligence. It's one of his strongest assets, especially being a blood spatter analyst. He visualizes crime scenes three-dimensionally, understanding the trajectories of blood spatter, object placement, and the sequence of events with ease. And when it comes to the dark passenger stuff, his spatial intelligence also helps him set up intricate kill rooms, controlling every detail to ensure he leaves no trace. His spatial awareness extends beyond just observation. It's central to his strategy and planning. Naturalist intelligence is a general measure of one's sensitivity to the environment and having vast knowledge about plants, animals, science, and the natural world. To start, Dexter is a blood spatter analyst. More generally, he's a crime scene investigator, but honestly, I don't think he has incredible knowledge of the environment. He doesn't seem extraordinarily connected to nature, and he hasn't overtly demonstrated a ton of knowledge about plants, animals, trees, and bugs. He's smart, but he focuses more on human psychology and criminal activity rather than being interested in the natural world. I don't think I have to define musical intelligence too deeply. You're musically gifted if you can pinpoint the exact measure of a Chopin piece while your brother is still lost on 3 pre-memorized chords, and then you drop the sheet music in front of him like that'll help. Huh? We don't get a lot of evidence that Dexter is gifted musically, or even really has an affinity for music. We get maybe 2 scenes of him dancing. Well, I hope my wife doesn't watch this. Dexter does not demonstrate any notable interest or skill in music. His focus is more on other aspects of intelligence, and music seems irrelevant to his pursuits. Logical mathematical intelligence refers to an individual's ability to solve mathematical problems, spot trends and patterns, and use reason at a high level. This is where Dexter really stands out. He excels at using logical reasoning and problem solving, often applying forensic techniques and deductive logic to catching criminals. His meticulous analysis of crime scenes demonstrates his mastery of this intelligence. He's able to spot patterns all his fellow detectives miss, cover his tracks, and really never make mistakes. Existential intelligence involves the capacity to ponder deep questions about existence, meaning, life and death, often reflecting from a philosophical mindset. Dexter grapples with profound questions about morality, identity, and purpose, especially as he reflects on his dark passenger. We hear his inner voice discuss his purpose, the world around him, and where he fits in, prompting practically a mini existential crisis every episode. So he has to be at least partially aware and gifted here. However, I truly believe his existential understanding is often limited by his detachment from emotions, making his insights more calculated than actually being philosophical. While he considers life's big questions, just as you and I do, they're typically filtered through his need to justify his actions, rather than actually pondering morality and identity on a larger scale. It's used more to excuse his sociopathic behavior, which, to me, kinda defeats the purpose. Interpersonal intelligence refers to the ability to understand and deal with others, manage relationships, and negotiate conflicts. Dexter struggles with interpersonal relationships due to his sociopathic tendencies.
It's a little harsh.
And although he can fake it and sort of glide his way through social interactions, he's only doing it to blend in. He'd rather not deal with anybody. Really, ever. His conversations are calculated and pretty fake. However, he does it really damn well. Shows he's at least understanding of what it takes to speak, communicate, and understand some people. Kinesthetic intelligence refers to the ability to use one's body effectively to solve problems or create products, often associated with physical coordination and skill. It should come as no surprise that Dexter absolutely excels here as well. He demonstrates high kinesthetic intelligence in his precise physical control and dexterity when he carries out his kill rituals. His ability to execute complex, meticulous actions under pressure, from preparing his kill rooms to handling evidence, showcases a mastery of coordination. I'll be honest, I don't think we ever see Dexter lose a fight in the entire series. While he has no military background or formal training we're aware of, he's still able to physically subdue and overpower everybody he encounters, regardless of gender, size, or strength. He has a natural ability to control physical altercations, and his endurance at both these fights and all the preparation and stalking leading up to them is borderline superhuman. Linguistic intelligence is the ability to use language effectively, rather than writing, speaking, or understanding. To communicate ideas or express oneself, individuals with high linguistic intelligence often excel in storytelling, public speaking, and learning new languages. I'd be lying if I said that Dexter was a language savant, so that shouldn't come as a surprise. While his inner dialogue is often clever, and more wordy than his actual voice, he doesn't come off as somebody who's gifted in conversations and expressions. He's usually short, to the point, and doesn't have flowery speech. Dexter, to me, is that guy that got a B in English class in high school by just showing up. The Myers-Briggs Personality Assessment, also known as MBTI, is a psychological assessment that helps people understand their personalities by looking at them in 4 key areas. How one focuses their energy, or introversion versus extroversion. How they take in information, or sensing versus intuition. How they make decisions, or thinking versus feeling. And how they live their lives, or judging versus perceiving. Each of these 4 subgroups combine to give a 4-letter acronym, which summarizes an individual's personality into an overall type. There are some, including myself, that don't put much scientific stock in the MBTI. The assessment has been deemed unreliable, lacking actual predictive power, and having vague terminology and untested theories. The MBTI can be used more as a coaching, exploratory tool to help psychologists or organizations make insights into individuals, rather than having a test grounded in scientific theory. So let's keep that in mind as we go forward. If we had to put Dexter into a single group, I would say Dexter falls into the INTJ category, also known as the archetype. Dexter often feels disconnected from others and recharges his energy by being alone. He focuses on patterns and their meanings and long-term strategies when casing and killing victims. He's unemotional, logical. His code is the only thing that really matters, not connecting with the people in his life. He thrives in structure and meticulous order. Dexter is an architect. We're now going to move into a psychological trait known as emotional intelligence, or EQ. Emotional intelligence is a general term for the ability of a person to understand and manage their emotions in productive ways, relating to dealing with stress, communication, displaying empathy, and overcoming challenges. More specifically, we'll look at Dexter through the lens of the Emotional Quotient Inventory, also known as the EQI 2.0. The EQI 2.0 is a 133-question exam that groups an individual's emotional intelligence into 5 categories, each of which contain 3 subgroups. Scores between 90 and 109 typically are in an average range, with 100 being the average, while anything below 90 needs improvement, and anything over 109 is above average. Let's look at Dexter's overall score on each of the 5 categories, and how he might score in each of the subgroups. Self-perception measures how well you understand yourself, value your strengths, and pursue meaningful goals in life. The 3 subgroups in self-perception are emotional awareness, self-regard, and self-actualization. For the overall self-perception category, Dexter scores an 82, which is below average, with a 75 in emotional awareness, a 90 in self-regard, and an 80 in self-actualization. Dexter recognizes his emotional detachment and acknowledges he's different from others, but lacks insight and understanding of how it impacts his relationships and overall actions. Dexter views himself quite neutrally, identifying himself as a predator with a purpose, instead of someone who is just better than others. Dexter's life revolves around his dark passenger and Harry's code, but to be honest, this purpose feels more like an obligation than a personal journey of fulfillment. The second category of the EQI 2.0 is self-expression, which measures how one effectively expresses emotions, assertions, and maintains independence in thoughts and actions alike. The three subgroups for self-expression are emotional expression, assertiveness, and independence. For self-expression as a whole, Dexter scores a very poor 73, with an abysmal 55 in emotional expression, a 90 in assertiveness, and a below-average 80 in independence. Emotional expression's extremely low score shouldn't surprise anybody. Dexter struggles to express emotions and understand them, as he's told us many times. He only tries to mimic what he sees around himself. Dexter's quite assertive though, giving him a closer to average score, although he suppresses this to blend in. And while Dexter does seem independent in some regards, he relies more on the whims of his dark passenger, and his allegiance to the code to ever feel like his life is his own. The third category of the EQI 2.0 is interpersonal EQ, measuring an individual's ability to establish meaningful relationships, empathize, and act responsibly within a community. Dexter also scores terribly in this category, with a 73 overall score for interpersonal EQ, and for the subcategories, he scores a disastrous 50 in empathy, extremely low 70 in interpersonal relationships, and an average 100 for social responsibility. Dexter's low empathy score should come as no surprise. He doesn't really understand feelings and emotions, and he's told us about 100 times he doesn't empathize. He sees people more as obstacles and puzzles than human beings. For interpersonal relationships, Dexter didn't score as low, but still several standard deviations below average, due to him having superficial relationships designed to maintain secrecy and hide his cover over fostering genuine connections. Dexter comes in right at an average for social responsibility, as he feels he has a duty to rid the world of other evil individuals. The fourth category of the EQI 2.0 is decision making, reflecting how well an individual solves problems, evaluates reality, and can deal with anxiety in high-stress situations. The three subcategories for decision making are problem solving, reality testing, and impulse control. Dexter's overall score for decision making is a very strong 117, with his problem solving EQ coming at an impressive 125, his reality testing coming in at 115, and his impulse control scoring a 95. Dexter displays genius level EQ of problem solving, excelling in logical problem solving situations. He's able to consistently outsmart and outwit his adversaries with extensive planning and strategic precision. Dexter also scores an impressive 115 at reality testing, as he has a clear, realistic understanding of his environment, helping maintain his double life. Impulse control also comes in at a healthy 95. While Dexter is disciplined and able to control a good amount of his urges, he still struggles to suppress them at times, especially when he's deeply provoked by others. The fifth and final category of the EQI 2.0 is stress management, which assesses how well an individual copes with stress, change, and maintains a positive life outlook. The three subcategories are flexibility, stress tolerance, and optimism. Dexter scores an overall 97 for stress management, scoring a 100 for flexibility, an impressive 120 for stress tolerance, and a poor 70 for optimism. Flexibility focuses on an individual's mental ability to adapt to disruptions, and this is something Dexter is pretty good at. While he prefers control and structure, he's able to confront unpredictabilities, especially when dealing with his double life. Dexter also excels in the area of stress tolerance, scoring an above average 120, due to his ability to stay calm under incredibly intense pressure in high-stakes scenarios. The one area of stress management Dexter struggles is optimism. I mean, this one's pretty clear.
That would seem to be self-evident.
His internal dialogue isn't talking about how nice the sun feels on his face, or how he's just a happy person. It's a nihilistic, grim worldview that focuses on survival over hope. Here's a recap of Dexter's 5 emotional intelligence categories. It's kind of interesting. Upon first glance, you might think Dexter just has zero emotional intelligence. like he lacks it completely. But you'd be wrong. EQ doesn't just focus on empathy and understanding of others. It focuses on composure, managing stress, and understanding your place in the world. While a psychometrician or psychologist might give a very warranted side-eye to Dexter's scores, he actually comes out a lot more reasonable than one might predict. The seventh and final portion of this structured analysis will review the Neo-PIR, another psychological assessment. The Neo-PIR, also known as the Big Five or the Five-Factor Model, provide a comprehensive framework for understanding human personality, emphasizing how individuals differ in enduring patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. It's a framework that's leaned on very heavily in the psychiatric community, whether it be for therapy, clinical psychology, education, or research. These 5 traits are extroversion, openness to experience, conscientiousness, agreeableness, and neuroticism. We'll define each of the 5 traits and assign Dexter a percentile score for each. The first trait in the Neo-PIR is extroversion. Extroversion reflects a person's level of sociability, energy, and preference for social interaction. High scorers are outgoing and thrive in social situations, while low scorers are more reserved and prefer solitude. Dexter is generally a reserved, quieter person that tends to avoid interactions with others. He hates the daily mundane pleasantries he has to exchange with his coworkers, and recharges his energy by being alone. He only attends social interactions and gatherings when it serves his objectives. If we had to bucket Dexter between extroversion and introversion, he's clearly an introvert, as we've established in the MBTI. But he still has the skills and abilities to charm and deal with others effectively, despite, hating doing it. Dexter falls into the 30th percentile for extroversion. The second Neo-PIR trait is openness to experience. This trait measures creativity, curiosity, and a willingness to explore new ideas and experiences. High scorers are imaginative and open to change, while low scorers prefer routine and are more conventional. This trait's a little bit less straightforward for Dexter, as he shows both a strong presence of this trait and possible lack thereof. Dexter demonstrates a strong ability to think creatively, especially when devising elaborate plans to evade capture and string up his victims for his ritual. He's able and willing to experience new things and explore new areas of opportunity within his life. But individuals with lower openness to experience tend to prefer order and structure, something that Dexter lives by. Despite this, Dexter seems to still be above average for openness to experience, as his fascination with blood analysis and serial killers reflects a deep intellectual curiosity. Dexter falls into the 70th percentile for openness to experience. The third Neo-PIR trait is conscientiousness. Conscientiousness reflects a person's level of organization, self-discipline, and goal-oriented behavior. High scorers are responsible and meticulous people, while low scorers tend to be more impulsive. Dexter is an incredibly conscientious individual, and I think we see it in every episode. He's highly methodical, meticulously planning every detail of his kills to avoid detection. His strict adherence to the code demonstrates a strong sense of discipline and control over his actions, and an allegiance to something that matters. He knows when to cut his losses, when not to take risks, and has incredible willpower. Dexter falls into the 90th percentile for conscientiousness. The fourth trait in the Neo-PIR is agreeableness. Agreeableness measures an individual's compassion, cooperation, and empathy towards others. High scorers are empathetic and altruistic, while low scorers are more competitive and self-focused. Yeah, I think this one's a little easy. Now, let me preface by saying I don't think Dexter's a dick. He's friendly enough when he needs to be, and he doesn't just go around being an asshole. He does do this to stay concealed more than anything, but I think he's at least a little agreeable. If we're talking about empathy and compassion, well, no, not at all. He only focuses on his own goals and doesn't show any type of affinity for anybody. Yeah, maybe Rita, and of course his sister. But to score high in agreeableness, you need to be empathetic and noble, and genuinely concerned for the welfare of others. Dexter is just not this. Dexter falls into the 15th percentile for agreeableness. The fifth and final trait in the Neo-PIR is neuroticism. Neuroticism reflects emotional stability and the tendency to experience negative emotions, such as anxiety, anger, or sadness. High scores are more prone to mood swings, while low scores are generally calm and composed. This is yet another metric that will prove a little more difficult when it comes to rating Dexter. Dexter maintains a calm exterior most of the time, but he occasionally experiences internal conflict and stress, especially when his secrets are at risk of being exposed. His dark passenger symbolizes his ongoing struggle with dark impulses, which he carefully manages. All in all, Dexter does appear to be more composed and usually able to regulate his emotions. And for that, we're going to place him at the 35th percentile for neuroticism. I think that's all I have for character analysis. I could throw other assessments, other viewpoints, I could talk about Dexter forever. The truth is, this is a fascinating character. It's easy to think about Dexter being this silent, cold, hardened, zero empathy killer who doesn't do anything but kill other killers. Like all he does is just stab people in plastic and make fun of people in his inner voice.
Food, water, I gotta get 2 children's life vests.
Abduct Jonathan Farrow, take him back to his studio, kill him, cut him to pieces.
Maybe you should pump the brakes a little bit.
But I think he's so much more nuanced than that, and that's really what I wanted to bring out in this analysis. He's a complex, multifaceted character that's almost more normal than Outlier, especially when you analyze him from a more methodical, psychological angle. Yeah, he's a serial killer, but a professional might miss specific things based on these analyses. And that, to me, is the most fascinating thing of all, and why he appeals to us. He's just a normal guy. He could be anybody. He could be you. We're finally here, the finish line. This is what the whole video and series are meant for. I didn't just take the video name "Is he the greatest ever" for clickbait.
How do I know that?
It's because I wanted to take a non-biased, methodical approach to evaluating our favorite TV characters using the same metrics, comparing them to each other, and ultimately determining who scores the highest. Let's cut to the chase. Dexter is the 6th character we reviewed. Before him, I've analyzed House, Elizabeth Jennings from The Americans, Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad, Turk Turkleton from Scrubs, and Jessica Jones. Yes, I know I started Barry and I didn't finish. I'll get to it, I promise. Each of these categories has been scored across 6 different metrics on a scale from 1 to 10. Here are the categories and how those 5 characters scored in each. I'm going to blur Dexter's for now. While we look at 6 categories, not all of them carry the same weight. By weighted, I mean assigning a value that reflects the relative importance of different factors. For example, performance and character development are weighted at 3. Meaning their scores will be multiplied by 3. The reasoning here is that character development and the actor's portrayal of a character are arguably more important than, say, how many awards they won, or how unique the character is. That's why House scoring a 7 on character development netted him 21 points towards his overall score. Awards and cultural impact each have a weight of 2, so their 1 to 10 scores are doubled. Finally, uniqueness and show presence are weighted at 1. So their scores are added as is. The total max denominator, after we add up all scores, is 120. So far, Jesse is in the lead. Since you last saw these rankings, I've made a few small adjustments to the categories and gradings. Trust me, I spent way too much time analyzing these numbers, trying to stay unbiased and give each character the score they truly deserve. Yet ultimately, yes, I know this is all opinion. But my goal is to provide the clearest possible picture of each character and how they could stack up against one another. Anyway, let's take a look at Dexter's scores on each of these 6 categories, starting with awards. This category evaluates Dexter, or more specifically, Michael C. Hall, the actor who portrays Dexter, on the awards he won for his performance as the titular character. Some actors go their entire careers without being nominated for a single award. Others win multiple Emmys and a host of other accolades for a single role. Let's take a closer look at Michael C. Hall's award record for Dexter. Now, at first glance, his list of wins might not seem particularly extensive. He has a few main awards to his name. 1 Golden Globe for Season 4, and 1 Screen Actors Guild Award also for Season 4. He also picked up a few other smaller awards not listed here, like a Satellite Award, a Saturn Award, and a TCA Award. Let's be clear, this is not a terrible haul. I think what's more impressive is the sheer amount of Golden Globe and Emmy nominations he received over 8 seasons. He was nominated for 5 Primetime Emmy Awards in 5 consecutive years, and on top of that, he earned 5 Golden Globe noms and 6 SAGs nominations, all in an era of extremely tough competition. That's an outstanding achievement. So, for awards, Dexter will earn an 8 out of 10, adding 16 points towards his overall score. The second category is uniqueness, our first single-weighted category. This category evaluates how unique a character truly is, how distinct they are from everyone else on TV. It considers their backstory, motivations, the way they speak, what they stand for, their decisions, their little idiosyncrasies. When it comes to Dexter, this shouldn't surprise anybody that I think he's in a league of his own. His backstory is haunting yet fascinating. Dexter walks a razor-thin line between hero and villain, which is compelling to say the least. His MO, meticulously hunting and killing other killers, is as chilling and disturbing as it is interesting. Dexter's personality and choices are a blend of contradictions, also netting him a ton of uniqueness points. He embodies a duality that's rarely explored so deeply in TV. Every decision that he makes feels deliberate, shaped by his own peculiar set of ethics. And despite everything I've mentioned, he's still insanely likable. Few characters manage to achieve the same level of depth and originality Dexter's put forth. So for this category, we're going to give Dexter a perfect 10 out of 10, which adds 10 points to his overall score. This score puts Dexter as the highest scorer so far in this category. Our first triple-weighted category focuses on performance. Character performance is crucial because it brings the characters to life, transforming words on a script into somebody compelling, somebody real. A strong performance can elevate even a well-written role, making the character unforgettable. But a lukewarm performance can be hard to watch and distracting at best. So this category asks the question, how well did Michael C. Hall bring Dexter to life? The short answer, he did well. The long one, a bit more complex. Now, let's just start with the good. Michael C. Hall's portrayal of Dexter is undoubtedly impressive, switching between the detached, calculated killer and the ordinary, mild-mannered analyst. Hall's ability to deliver chilling monologues while still maintaining a charismatic, likable presence is no small feat and shouldn't come for nothing. Hall excels at portraying uncomfortable faces and body language. He's able to reveal the inner turmoil of a man who doesn't naturally express emotions. That's the good, which there's plenty of.
How bad is it?
I think the one area that Michael C. Hall appears to struggle more is in the quieter, nuanced, character-driven moments, especially in later seasons. The show's uneven tone seems to clash with Hall's delivery and timing, and it creates some awkward moments. Some of Dexter's more vulnerable or human moments come across as less convincing in moments where the show needs a real, compelling performance. I'm not saying Hall needs to be Daniel Day-Lewis levels of monologue.
Louder. I've abandoned my child!
You're what now?
Let's be real, Michael C. Hall is not an expressive actor, and I think his casting for Dexter works incredibly well. I think there are still some moments we need a little bit more from him. With that being said, Hall's performance is still one of the more impressive, prominent ones in recent TV. We'll score Dexter a solid 7 out of 10 for performance, netting him 21 points towards his overall score. Let's move on to the fourth category. This category is called cultural impact. This refers to how significantly a TV character resonated within the TV landscape and beyond. It includes their popularity, memeability, and the extent to which they inspired fan engagement. This category aims to measure their influence on future TV characters and even broader cultural norms. It will measure how much of a legacy a character left behind. Dexter Morgan undoubtedly left a huge handprint on television, more specifically on anti-heroes in general, perhaps reinvigorating this classification and owning it completely. Name an anti-hero or bad good guy that's more prominent than Mr. Raisinette Morgan in recent TV memory. I think you'll struggle. His internal monologues, code of ethics, and dual life inspired countless discussions and fan theories, while his character's dark humor and iconic catchphrases became widely recognized instantly. No other character comes to mind when you think of that inner wit with that dry delivery. His cultural impact is hard to measure. Dexter's popularity was starbound the minute the show premiered, and years later, he's still as relevant as ever. The fans have been begging for more of this character the second the initial show ended. Talk about popular, boy oh boy. Dexter scores a 9 out of 10 for cultural impact, netting him 18 points towards his overall score. The fifth category is show presence. Show presence refers to how strongly a series asserts itself within the cultural and entertainment landscape. It encompasses the show's ability to captivate audiences, dominate conversations, and remain memorable long after the episode's air. This can include everything from high viewership and critical acclaim to its influence on other shows and communities. Now, before I go further, this might sound similar to cultural impact, but this is more focusing on the show itself. Cultural impact focuses more on Dexter as a character. How strong of a presence did the show Dexter have among other similar shows? Well, to start, Dexter commanded a strong show presence through its gripping narrative and unique premise, which kept audiences hooked for 8 seasons, especially with an excellent and gripping first season. Its blend of crime drama and psychological thriller, paired with dark humor, set it apart from other shows in its genre. The tension-filled storytelling, combined with a good performance from Michael C. Hall, made Dexter a must-watch series, and it had the viewership and retention to prove it. Dexter's ability to sustain suspense and tension across multiple seasons, with a premise that never really changed all that much, should definitely be noted. The show knew how to leave cliffhangers, and of course, to stir up some controversy.
If I could kill it, I would.
Getting a total of 3 spin-offs, and possibly more, shows how relevant this little universe has remained. For this, Dexter scores an 8 out of 10, netting him 8 points towards his overall score. Leaving the best for last, the sixth and final category is character development. TV character development refers to the way a character evolves over the course of a series, revealing new layers of their personality, motivations, and relationships. Strong development keeps characters dynamic and engaging, allowing audiences to connect with them on several levels. Weak development reveals predictable paths out of character choices, and a lack of insight into a character's motivations. Dexter Morgan's character development is one of the most compelling things about him, as its main focus is exploring his dual life. At the start, he's a calculated, cold killer, but we see the cracks of his humanity show. His connection with his father, Rita, his sister. We see him try to balance the dark passenger in his normal life to truly be himself. His growth is subtle and nuanced, impactful and earned. As the show continues, he questions the morality of his actions and seeks to redefine his identity beyond just a revenge killer. The balance the writer struck at achieving this tone. Dexter isn't without his flaws. His arc in later seasons feels inconsistent, with some storylines feeling forced and repetitive. The show starts to lean on heavy, convenient plot devices, as opposed to earlier seasons, where Dexter's nuanced personality is what they focus on most. And of course, the finale, almost ruining Dexter's growth in a single moment. Well, that's what some people say, but I have something to say about that. More on that later.
Why? What are you about to do?
Dexter's growth as a character remains nuanced and complex, but we cannot help but feel like we might have been robbed of something greater. I don't think I'm alone in feeling this. For this category, we'll give Dexter a 6 out of 10, netting him 18 points towards his overall score. So when we add up all the points from all 6 categories, Dexter scores an impressive 91 out of 120. Let's take a look at the updated standings. This puts Dexter at number 2, just in front of House, but behind the frontrunner, Jesse Pinkman. I'm proud to see that Dexter did better than most of the characters we've analyzed to date. I can say that I can't think of a more introspective, unique TV character, one that captivated millions with his off-color charm, his forced smiles, his empty eyes. Dexter's popularity has become so robust, we have gotten 3 spin-offs, all with Michael C. Hall reprising his role. Just ask yourself this: can any other character make their internal struggle so relatable? Who else could simultaneously make you fear and admire them? Who else could make the darkness feel so oddly comforting. My closing final thought. So, I meme about the ending of the show being terrible and how everything after season 4 sucked donkey nuts. But I'm actually gonna be serious and put down a hot take here. The ending of season 8, I don't think it was that bad. Hold on, let me explain. I know everyone almost unilaterally agrees it was awful, and how all the critics went berserk when the episode aired. I know it's been accepted into the library of awful finales, and there's no leaving that club. But honestly, how do I say this? Dexter's finale was actually kind of fine, and in character for what the show was trying to do. Now, before I open Pandora's box as we wrap this video up, there are some things I absolutely agree with the fans on. Season 8 sucks. Yes. The ending of the show was rushed. Abso-fucking-lutely. Where we diverge is that most fans wanted to see the other characters' reactions to finding out who Dexter was. Have him be on the run more in season 8. Have him be punished for what he'd done. See him face justice. I personally don't agree with a lot of those hypotheticals. I don't think the point of the show was to have Dexter's past come full circle. Have him be on the run from the law. I mean, did fans really need a 3-second scene of Quinn and Bautista going, "Oh shit, he's the killer"? Wow. Did they need that to not think the ending was dog shit? Or maybe they needed to see Dexter get arrested? Would that have made the show better? I don't think so. And to those who say that he escaped punishment in the end, I say to you, I want to bump you on the head lightly with a thick piece of cardboard. I disagree completely. Rita dying brutally, that was punishment. Deb dying as his last piece of familial humanity was punishment. Dexter believing he'd never see Harrison again was punishment. Dexter was manipulated as a child and molded into a killer, so say what you want, but Dexter is a victim as much as anyone in this too. Listen, the ending of Dexter is an abrupt, unconventional, sad ending, and I think that's what it's supposed to make us feel. It's supposed to be rushed. It's supposed to be empty. There's no music, no internal dialogue, nothing. This has to be the longest take in the history of the show, where Dexter is alone and we don't hear his thoughts at all. It's an uneasy feeling, and I think that's the best part. This story wasn't resolved. Dexter isn't resolved. And you know what? I think I can speak for all of us when I say that we will always want more of him. Thanks so much everybody for watching. This was my longest one yet. It was a lot of fun to make. I've been wanting to talk about Dexter for a long time, and I know people have been asking. This was fun. I'm definitely going to do more big videos. I've got a couple of other characters planned. I've also got some house stuff planned, so thanks for supporting me. Thanks for watching. It's always awesome to hear all the feedback and everything from you guys. Happy holidays, everybody, and have a happy new year.